during and after games, and his staff, because they know me over many years. The other two staffs are used to doing things their way, and it's well done in the old deliberate fashion manner. And hopefully we can get them to think and open their eyes and get in the water and experiment a little bit with their swimming or coaching strokes. Um, but right now, my U13 level and all of this knowledge of how to teach, Richard, back in our era, and this may have been a problem, but back in our era, we took biomechanical principles. We broke down skills
Yeah.
and we
Yep.
applied those scientific principles to be able to teach forward stride, stability, strength on skates, backward striding, pivoting. Scientifically, we were able to use this whole part whole method. Um, do we not do that anymore, or should we forget about it? Because when they took those elements out of the curriculum in Hockey Canada and they went into a repetition, 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 there's, to me, elements of execution of fundamental skills leading to individual tactical skills that can make the players so much more effective.
You know, our objective should not be really to change each other's minds. I mean, who am I to suggest to Tom or, Rick Puttock or yourself, Wally, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. We've been coaching for eons. We've had some successes. We are at the final push of our coaching. We're keeping our hands in it. But the coaches who are in their first 10 years, those are the ones we're going to get to. There's no question, Wally. Like, I still have Gaston Marcotte's book. I taught with Gas in Montreal for years, summer hockey school. And Gas is, at one time, the Russians called him the top technician in the world. Okay. I had the benefit of being the only Anglo to English person in Quebec language to work with Gas for a number of years. We had to take all the elements of skating here, and there was a checklist in the summertime when we did the hockey school. Can a kid do this, like the 10 elements of a tight turn, a virage brusque? What are the elements of a tight turn? What are the elements of this? What are the elements of that? And it was all separate from their ability to play hockey. So when I was coaching my early years in Montreal, I would go, well, I'm going to be a technician. I'm going to teach them this. And I think my teams would have been far more successful had I just put that aside and taught them how to play. Let's play the game. Taking 15 minutes out of my practice to teach them how to do a tight turn, in retrospect, didn't make any sense. But now we have researchers who are actually looking at this stuff and going, yeah, this linear approach, whole part whole, whatever you want to call it, is not effective. It has a place, like it may have more immediate results. The game type approach takes longer. We need to be more patient, but we're not in hockey, especially in this country. We're not patient. Okay, I've got a kid on my group. He's 16 years old. He's about 5'4", 107 pounds, soaking wet. He flies in one direction. He can go like the wind on his forehand. He's a right shot on his forehand around everybody on the rink. You've seen those guys like Connor McDavid circling the zone. He can do that on his forehand 3 or 4 times in a row. Cannot go to his backhand. So, if he can't go to his backhand, I can't ask who owns the problem from 10 years ago when he was, a little guy. How do I fix it now? Am I going to take him on the ice and work on his turning to the right? Or am I going to create a game environment where I'm going to challenge the players? If you're going around somebody, you have to go to your right and then left, not left and then, or something. I have to find some way around it. How do I fix that little problem to make him a more complete player? I'm not going to teach him tight turns. I'm not going to teach him driving to the right in practice. But yeah, this is what we used to do. I still have all these books with Scadia. Do you remember that, Wally? Or who? Rick Puttick must
Oh, yes.
remember. Scadia. I asked Gas once, where did that name come from? He said, him and Le Riviere, Georges Le Riviere, and Christian Pellichat, they got together. What do we call it? Skate, Scadia? I don't know. He made it up.
Well, this session is, I'm the whole part whole guy. I've taken this job on wanting to run a drill for the coaches that would teach the skill that they could apply in a game. Tom took evasive tight turns in a simple way, and he just had them skate around the perimeter and tight turn on the whistle with a fake to the inside. That was it. The repetition of that and then encouraging to do it in a game resulted in a game. And Tom, I wonder if you could elaborate on some more examples of what you've done deliberately that's paid off and evident, gotten results in game performance.
Well, I think I'm getting an echo here. That should
Pardon me,
stop it.
Tom?
Yeah, sorry, I had my screen on too, and I'm not getting. But anyways, yeah, that was part of the warm up. Just skating around when they're doing some long strides to warm up, and then tight turn towards the boards and 3 or 5 hard strides, and then real 2 quick ones, and that went right in a game. What I found last year, that other deliberate practicing is from you, Wally, is defend a one-on-one with no stick. Because like I see, I have a few players that do this now in this new team I've got. They're going for the puck, and the players on the inside, then they swing their stick to them for the puck, and most of the time they get it, but when they don't, they're heading towards the boards, and the player with the puck is heading towards the net. So to maintain defensive side, I found that the effective thing is to defend with no stick, and do the one-on-one, and then we'll play 3-on-3 and starting on the boards, players with the puck on the boards passing the puck, and then let's say go, and it's a 3-on-3, and the defenders do not have sticks. So that's deliberate practice, and I think that really translates both those things to, the whole idea of staying on defensive side, and your job isn't to get the puck, it's to stay defensive side and defend from there. So those are 2 examples.
And just related to that, Tom, working with Dave King and having to play the Russians, Soviets, we had to learn how to maintain D side. And Dave had one simple teaching point: toe cap square. I had a progression of snowplow and front foot stops and T starts, so you didn't overskate situations, that I think complemented the maintaining of D side. To me, they were worthwhile, but it was a national team that had so much practice time to do it in. And while it wasn't fun, they enjoyed the reaping of the benefit of the tactical skating. So that's what I struggle with this working with Dave King and his ability to progressively teach tactical skills that you can do in games. To me, it bridges the gap in gameplay. I'm questioning myself now in terms of whether I should even focus on it anymore at the U13 and U15 levels, or just let it be.
Great name for a song, though.
What's that?
It's a great name for a song.
Yep.
Let it be. Let it
You
be.
can't expect players to know it.
What's that, Tom?
always had the thought that if you haven't dealt with it at some point, whether in a drill or a game, or you can't expect you're going to know it. You have to assume that nobody knows anything when they go in, because it's like right now, I mean, 19 players. There's such a spectrum of what they know and what they don't know.
Yeah.
Like I heard this word forecheck all the time. I had no idea what that meant. And then at some point, somebody, I don't know what, but they explained what a forecheck was. I said, "Oh, you mean chasing the puck? I've been doing that all the time." So, so that's the thing about terminology and this kind of stuff. I wasn't that bright of a kid.
Being an inveterate thief as opposed to an invertebrate thief. The terminology that I use, that I stole from soccer way back, was net side inside. And I've been teaching my players net side inside positioning forever. We've always had very good defensive. Now, net side inside is just one component, because they're net side inside. They're between the opposition and the puck. They take an inside position on the rink. But is the head on a swivel? What are they doing with their sticks? There's a lot of other pieces. So when I did the 3-on-3 last night between the blue lines with the joker behind the blue lines, I'm bouncing back and forth between the benches, and I'm asking the guys, so who on your team right now is net side inside when the other team has the puck? I mean, you only have one zone to play with. It's not hard. Where are you going? Where are you looking? At least if you're looking, you have a chance. So this is how you build in the team play ideas around the principle of net side inside.
Can you clarify net side inside for the listeners and me? Go ahead.
Okay, net side inside, net side / inside. And in fact, I put it on I did bring in dry erase sheets, and I put it on the wall in the dressing room of reminders for the game. Stick on puck is always big for me. One guy said to me last night, would you prefer stick on puck or body on body? And he's a big kid. And I said, Austin, it depends on the situation, but the vast majority of time, stick on puck works best. It's less tiring, less dangerous, and more effective. Anyway, net side inside means when you're in a defensive posture and you're not role number 3, Tom, the guy around the puck carrier, you're on the other players need to be inside, like in wherever the defender, like here's an attacker, the net is my mouth. No wisecracks, guys. The net is my mouth, and the defender is here. He's inside. And he's where my hand is, this hand right here is an attacker, okay? I am right now between him and the net. Not between him and the net. Not between him and the net. Between him and the net. So as a starting point, if I can get my players, you've heard of coaches who collapse their 4 players or 5 players inside the zone. Great, they're pros. These guys, I just want them to, if they can at least be net side inside, at least that and nothing else, it forces the opposition around us. Even if we're the worst skating team with the worst sticks and the dumbest guys, at least we're forcing the opposition to go away from the prime scoring area. So I usually start with that.
Richard, I want to simplify it more. Watching teams at different ages doing HP evaluations of coaching, one team didn't have any D-side understanding. They didn't have D-zone cover. The winger was waiting on the 5 boards for a breakout when the other team had the puck in the opposite corner. They wouldn't sag. And Rick, this is the coach that, when I approached him, had said to me, well, they should have learned that in novice. And that, to me, is the biggest thing of all, even now at the U13 level, is getting them to collapse. So I use the terminology protect the house, the home plate. You know what that means? Girls hockey, don't let them in your kitchen. All 5 there. And
That's sexist for girls hockey. Don't let them in the kitchen.
don't let them in the kitchen. It's your kitchen. And one thing about the puck, appreciating the possession of the puck. It's not made of rubber. It's made of gold, is what I told the Japanese women. And now Jordan's line was, the puck is your cell phone. So those kinds of imagery, I think, resonate with the mind of the player, the female player, the male player. The languaging you use to simply get a picture in your mind of what, like, and I didn't have a clear picture of net side, inside. I didn't realize it was the same thing. Pretty much. Is there a difference between staying between your man and the net side, inside? What's the subtle difference?
Well, it's I don't know if it's a subtle difference, but I'm talking about a basic principle. We spend too much time, our coaches spend too much time on system. And I don't care what system you use, you know, whether you're going to have a defenseman chasing the forward all the way up to the circle, or coaches use all kinds of systems that I leave that up to the coaches and their particular teams. I'm talking about the basic tenet of defensive play is stay between the opposition and the net and assume an inside position in every zone. In every zone. Forecheck zone, mid zone, doesn't matter. If you are at least there, then you're in a good starting position for applying other things that I would add later. It might be angling, stick checking, one forecheck or two forecheck, whatever. But at least start with that. That's ground zero.
Rick.
Yeah, Tom, both Tom and Richard have touched on what I was ranting about a little earlier, is knowing full that your players understand what direction you're giving them. And, there are various terminologies. My terminology is inside out. And the other way I explain that to my players is that whatever happens next needs to come through you, no matter where you are on the ice. If you're in that position with whatever responsibility you have, you're probably in the best position. Then you work from strength. You're not chasing things back to the net. It's got to come through you anyways.
And Richard, my point is that we started talking about small area games. Let the game teach. I guess the art of coaching, the right stuff, the right amount, the right time, is at what point would you bring these things up? And is it okay not to bring them up at all? But just,
no.
Okay.
No, it's not. And the terminology, Rick says inside out, and there are 5 of us here. We could come up with 5 different ways of saying the same thing. I happen to use net side, inside. Using my team right now as an example, and reflecting on some of the teams I've had in the past years ago, but certainly right now, U18 AA with a hodgepodge of skill, wherewithal. I've got 5 or 6 really bona fide AAA players for next year. The rest of them, career AA players. Fine. I did that 3-on-3 game between the blue lines last night for the sole purpose of identifying who can go net side, inside. Who has figured it out? We have a game tonight. I'm going to be watching for that. Did most of them get it? No. It was the first time they'd ever seen it. Will they get it 2 months from now? My bet is yes, because I'm going to keep coming back to it. And I think I'm going to come back to it next week when the team is made with 2v2. A cross ice inside a zone. 2v2 has only one other player who has to assume the right body position on the rink. One. All he's got to do is one, because the other guy is role number 3, which is forcing the puck carrier. So if I can get the second guy to look around and go, which way did he go? Like that cartoon character, which way did he go? Which way did he go? Where is he? Where am I? If they can accomplish that, and I can get all the guys understanding how to do it in 2v2, then I can build on that 3v3 or 3v2. Will I do it in the same practice? I don't know. I may. We'll see. They'll be doing that for 35, 40 minutes. They should have a pretty good idea after 35 or 40 minutes of that. And because it's competitive and it's go, 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 like they were bagged last night. We had 2 hours of ice. I had to cut it off at 80 minutes. They
Rich,
were completely spent.
I just wanted to give you another idea that I've mentioned before. It's about habits. Losing D-side is overskating, controlled skating. The theoretical idea of being reactive when you skate defensively, mastering your inside edges, toe cap, square, helps you appreciate that. So when players practice a bag skate of stops and starts and crossover, it's all out and there's really no purpose in a game. So that's why I want to teach front foot stop, T-start, snow plows, because it's related to defensive tactical skating. Now it becomes a habit. If you stop on your favorite side all the time, you're going to lose D-side. You're going to overskate. So you got to stop facing both ways. Now, in terms of habits, one of the most important habits is to face the puck. And a way of teaching it is whether it's 3-on-3 cross ice and the team watching, when somebody turns their back, the coach blows the whistle, the offender has to do 3 push-ups, everybody has to do 1. Now, the point is, you don't say anything. You want to see if the defender that turned the back, that overskated, is aware of their lack of controlled skating. And I've found that coaches tend to yell and scream and point at the kid to do 3 push-ups without just blowing the whistle and seeing if he knows, understands the point of this habit exercise. So I don't know what you think of that, but I've done it for coaches, because mentoring coaches to try it, and most of the time they are the ones that have to let the kids see if the kid knew he was the one. And then he's going to be conscious of his skating and not losing D-side.
I would challenge you from coach to coach. I would say, all right, Wally, how can you create an activity, game, drill, whatever you want to call it, where they have to face the puck all the time? In other words, you create a constraint, which is hard to do in hockey. Create a constraint that forces the players to do this. And you track it. You go, each time I see a player not facing the puck, I'm putting a mark on the glass with a dry erase marker, and the team that has the fewest numbers of marks wins a fabulous prize. I was giving out candy to my guys last week for the winning team when we had our cross ice games. And I found out how many guys don't eat candy. Not very many. Everybody eats candy, lollipops. But that's the real challenge for us, even for us, like really experienced coaches, just the 4 of us here. There's like 200 years experience coaching here, to come up with a game, an activity, or a drill where they have to be facing the puck. And are there situations where you may not face the puck? Is it a fault for one of my players who is net side inside to be I'm skating down the rink. I've got my back to the puck, which is back there, and I'm chasing Puttock over here, okay? He's 2 strides ahead of me, but I am inside of him, but my back is to the puck. Is that wrong? In which zone is it wrong? In which zone is it right? What is the principle I'm trying to get across? Should I be penalized because he was already 2 strides ahead of me? I can't catch him because of that distance, but I am inside of him. But my back is to the puck and I'm looking. My back is to the puck, but I'm looking. Is that wrong? So I'm asking the players, I mean, it's rhetorical for us here. I'm asking the players, is it wrong to be looking like this? Where's Puttock? He's up there. I can't catch him, but I'm inside of him. I know where the puck is, but my back is to it. Is that wrong?
No, and theoretically it isn't, because there's so
Right.
many nuances
Right.
to the game. I appreciate what you're saying at that age.
At any age.
Far better
Yeah.
to do the glass thing and keep score,
Mm-hmm.
and then ask them all, why are we doing it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would change moving forward. I'm going to share with everybody something Tim Bothwell, back in the day, coaching the U of C, I was on the ice with him at a practice. It was a scrimmage, and he had a scoreboard, a kept score on the glass. Every time in the zone, you managed to move the puck forward, possess it, back to possess, advance through the zones. He kept score of those elements of getting up the ice cooperatively together in a game, scrimmage. And it made the players really aware of Tom Malloy's scrimmage, where you have to make a pass in one zone. Well, gee, you could have a breakaway, but you still got to make a pass in the neutral zone. It goes against the grain of, well, what should I do in a game? But the idea of regroup timing, that's the essence and purpose of the game. So if it accomplishes that purpose, fine. And I think I've had coaches tell me that Tom's rule of having to make a pass in one zone is huge. Absolutely huge. On a technical note, you talked about 3-on-3, 3-puck scrimmage. Was that whole ice or half ice?
Between the Blues, wasn't it?
It was inside a zone across the ice.
Okay. Now I'm just throwing this at you. If you went whole ice, goal line to goal line, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, 8-on-8. And I think I've talked about this in a previous Sharks call. There's a risk factor playing rushes skating backwards. So I discovered with the U13s playing 8 versus 8, 3-puck scrimmage, the best of first team to score 2 wins the game. It's the best of 3. That a player skated backwards and there was a collision. So the light bulb went on and I said, okay, let's surf only. So the advanced tactic of forechecking on playing a rush in every zone, not allowing backward skating, the deliberate purpose of that might contribute to more aggressive forecheck in all 3 zones.
Well, yeah, good point. The safety of the players is paramount, obviously. I wouldn't have tried it if I didn't feel it was safe. I didn't add that when I had 2 pre-tryout skates last week, we had done a lead up to that where I threw 3 pucks into a zone or into a half rink, and an entire group was down there playing keep away, just keep away. And when they're playing keep away, they keep their heads up more because they're not focused on getting to the net. So that was the lead up to what I did last night. But I never do anything without putting a lot of thought into what am I trying to get out of this? Do I want this to be in a bigger space? No, because I wanted it to be in a small space to work on their quickness and agility and reading the play. I threw in the one constraint of 3 puck, 2 puck, 1 puck. I might do it differently next time, but the idea is always, what's the objective? What am I trying to get from the guys to understand what to do? Nobody asked me. One player asked, I was the same player who asked me the other question. He said to me, Coach, this is chaos. I said, yeah, that's the game. It's chaos. Right. Nobody complained about the game.
You might remember that's where we learned to play the game on the outdoor rinks.
Exactly.
There's multiple games going in all different directions.
Right. Big kids, small kids.
Yep.
Like that poem. Big rats, small rats, fat cats, tawny rats. What was it? Oh yeah, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Yeah. English teacher. Yeah.
Well, I'm a little bit perplexed because having 3 teams to mentor at U13, I've got this whole gamut of teaching deliberate progressions, but they're tactical, purposeful, progressive to the ability to gain time and space or take away time and space in game situations. And I think I'll do that in a formal time that's given to me. And what's happening is there's a company, Global, at that U13 level, they have 6 ice sessions this year. The thing that frustrated me all year last year was talking to coaches about what they were doing and trying to get them to focus on the purpose of the drill they're doing. So I'll give you an example. Dave King's puck progression for puck protection. Rick, do you recall it?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, describe it, and I'll tell you what happened last year where I intervened.
You start with protect the dot. Players can't reach between the legs. You just circulate and shoulder check, cut them off. Just not handling the puck, and you can play keep away. Same principles. Then there's the protect race, where you take the lead.
Hold it, because I intervened because that's what the coach did. The player was stationary. He didn't let the player behind him get to the puck. We started out stationary.
Yeah, he was only allowed to circulate around the puck. He couldn't handle it to protect it.
Now here's my point. You have to start with the checker with their hands on the hip so you feel him and you can lean into him. Yep. When he did the drill, they would look over their shoulder. They got to the puck too easily. So I had them initiate the drill with hands stick on the hips, contact, feel, lean in, pivot, leg, arm, stick, protecting. So that element of touching, I brought up with the coach to make it more effective. And I think that was a valid intervention that helped them make contact, which they're not comfortable with. And then after that, it became paired passing, small area, whistle, keep away. And the idea of the puck protector in the smallest of the space being able to shield. But does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is where I call it, it's anal for me and maybe anal to coaches. those kind of details. And there's nothing wrong with realizing I've got beat. I maybe have to make contact and protect the lane, make contact to the lane in a free puck race. But teaching
That's
it
what
at U8, U11, it can be done. And it's going to, the sooner everybody understands and is able to apply those tactical skills to the game, they're going to be more effective and enjoy the game more. So,
and that's the type of thing, Wally, I was referring to again earlier, where we need to go back and deal with it at that very basic level.
Yeah.
Even when I'm doing that sequence, the first part of that for me is just the power of your knees, where you can wrestle with straight leg and the weaknesses that brings out. And then with a good knee bend and a continuous knee bend, it's just a one stick between two players, and they're trying to wrestle each other, learning how to use their legs and their knees to stabilize themselves. The other one is the straight-legged push side by side. Stand straight leg and you can be pushed over like a twig. But spread your legs, shoulder width apart, and bend your knees. You suddenly become extremely strong. And I've done that at 70 years old with U18 players, and they're amazed at how strong you can be even at my age when they're not aware of those principles. And I don't think you can go too far back down the scale of what needs to be taught. If you have players that are not aware of it, or you're not sure they're aware of it, I think as a coach, we have an obligation to go back there and just refresh their memories or introduce it for the first time. Either way, it's a win for all concerned. And that's just on the puck protection.